Okay. So, do you guys want to hear my theory of the why of everything, right? So, hear me out. So, since everything's always expanding and always kind of like evolving and becoming more complex, what I see is I see a pattern in the universe. Things have this sort of tendency to keep becoming more complex. I don't know if you can call it a natural like phenomenon. I don't know if you can call it like a natural occurrence, like a just coincidence maybe. Who knows? But like I see that there's this thing going on wherein things are just becoming more and more complex. Like think of the universe as like a machine, right? Think of it as a machine, and this machine is creating more. It was a very simple machine that's creating more and more complex little machines. It's creating, it's building complexity within itself. It's building machine things that get more and more complex. You know, you got the elements, they become more and more complex in the bellies of a star. Those elements, then you got stars, you got planets. All of a sudden, then you got life. The things become much more complex, right? And it's like, I wonder where it's gonna go. Because throughout 13 billion years, which is a lot of time for us, I don't know how long the universe is gonna be here. But it's like we're technically at the start, aren't we? Technically. I mean, we're the starting it. We're the start of it all, you know? It's how I see it. I see it as we have a will, we have this sort of innate nature to want to live, to want to keep going, right? That's why animals have this just like unconscious will and this unconscious like directive. Like it's a prime directive to just survive and keep going for animals. Like people just want to survive, right? Like why is that? Why does the system just want to keep itself going? Why do they have that innate like that you don't need to consciously be aware of that. It's there. It's always there for every individual, right? It just keeps itself going and it wants to replicate to keep itself going. Like it seems like like it's naturally the universe is working towards something. It's working to become more and more complex, more intelligent, and it's building smarter and smarter machines. It's building more intelligent and more complex machines, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're its most complex and most intelligent machine yet, and that is something to be proud of, boys. I mean, we're a part of something big here, whether you believe in religion or not. I'd say not believing in religion. I'd say what I know and what I seek to find out, what I hypothesize and theorize is it makes me feel like I'm a part of something bigger than I ever did with religion. You know, knowing that I am the universe, that I have all of the elements of the universe inside of me. Not all of them, but like the main ones that are found, right? That I am the universe looking back at itself. I am the conscious part of the universe, right? We are like I see this sort of pattern. I could be wrong. Who knows? It's just my theory that we are just sort of bound to keep the universe has a directive to keep creating more and more complex machines, to keep building more complex things. It's just like this sort of thing that almost like Arnold Schopenhauer wrote about. It's like the will to keep living, right? Why must you keep living? Well, it's because we got to keep humans on this. We got to keep building more and more humans that could possibly come through, and like obviously you just throw like the universe understands math. It works with math. The universe is math. It created math, so it understands that you throw more and more humans, you keep more and more things alive. The higher possibility that you can, the more that you throw at something, the more outcomes you're gonna get, the more results you're gonna get, right? You throw more and more humans, you throw more and more animals, right? That's more animals that can then, that's more things on this earth that can then live, and then that can sort of evolve into more and more complex animals. It could, right? Like the universe, it isn't. It's slowly working its way up as it gets to the next stage. Like the universe is like, it has a will. It has this will to keep getting smarter, but it's doing it like in a very primal way. Obviously, like if it's not going step by step in the most efficient manner, like we can like sort of evaluate the most efficient manner from which you can create the most complex machines, right? You'd go from, okay, we have to have something to start with, like clay. The universe is clay. You create a star, cool. You have stars that create all of the ingredients for us. Okay, cool. Now you have a planet. Okay, cool. Now we'd say likely the more efficient thing to do is to just put us here Sure, you can have a few animals, and their only existence would be to feed us, so we can keep living and keep reproducing and keep having more of us here that can then go on and create even smarter machines, which is what you see here. You know, a computer, my mobile phone, which I'm not going to show you because I lost it. I'm running on my dad's trap phone right now, a Motorola. But you know, these phones, these machines that we're creating robots, we're creating AIs, AI programs which are built off of ourselves in the most ideal, and we're able to have a transvaluation of our, you know, like sort of what makes us great. And we're building a robot which puts all of our, which mathematically is just so much more superior than us, right? It has all of the best qualities of a human. It's not like it's gonna be like I'm talking about like AIs when they become like super intelligent and super sentient, like we can make them sentient if we can, you know. And we're making them perfect. We're making these machines way more efficient than us, way more faster than us, with more processing ability of data. Like we're making them great. Look at the cameras we're making, right? Of course, it's not like nature itself when they created us. It's not like it wasn't great either. I mean, look at our eyes. Look at how great we are. Look how beautiful we are. Look at how powerful we are to be able to create all of this. And I see that that's what this is. We're creating more and more complex machines. And that's, I believe, the prime directive of the universe that it's doing. Somehow, some way, something like the universe in its entirety, right? The universe itself, it permeates through everything that it wants to keep going. It wants to become more and more complex. It's almost like it has a goal. I don't know exactly what it is, but all I know is that it involves creating more. Maybe there's no goal, but I know it involves creating more and more complex machines and more complex systems that can do what exactly? I don't know, but we experience things consciously now, and we're trying to create AIs that can be sentient. I don't know if we'll solve the consciousness problem, but I hope so, because it's up to us. I feel like we're the next. We're going to be the vehicle from which we will transition to the next step in evolution. We'll transition into the next more advanced system. We are already creating how many fucking systems? I mean, look, just look at, you know, all the shit we have: Bluetooth, you know, self-driving cars, computers, super fast, powerful mega computers. I mean, dude, just look at everything we're doing. I mean, you just see it, man. And like, what is that drive? Why do we have curiosity? What is that? What is the will to keep living? Why do things have that? Well, think about why. See the overarching pattern, and then maybe you can figure out the why. See the pattern. Which is why I mentioned maybe it would have started with us, and then maybe just had a few animals that we could eat. Because of course the world did go a long time with a bunch of animals that just don't work. They're not that smart. They don't have a lot of capabilities of being smart, right? The world just like had a lot of stupid animals that were just there simply for survival, just for fun, right? Like that was the most primitive time of Earth. It must have been fun. It must have been kind of fun, but really it's like us, right? You see how we are the universe. I mean, it's trial and error. It was the universe's way of trial and error to create all those animals, create dinosaurs. Like the dinosaur era. I mean, come on, you could have completely skipped that and nothing would have changed. But we know they were here. We know they existed. That's the trial and error right there. That's the fragments of that. We're seeing the trial and error of the universe in its attempt to create more complex systems. I think that is what the universe is doing. And that is the longest intro I have ever had, boys. Let's get ready to be mind blown. All I'm offering is the truth, the philosophy of the Matrix. I thought it was fitting for me to include that in there. That was just my hypothesis. That was my theory. I could be absolutely wrong. Have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I might be able to find out something tomorrow or next week or in this video that could make me just completely rethink everything that I just said. But I stand by that. I feel like I'm very strong on that opinion. I feel like that makes sense. I feel like that is a very good, like, sort of that's a very good theory, right? I mean, it holds.
The Matrix, a science fiction film created by the Wachowskis, is probably one of the most influential movies ever made. The story starts when computer programmer Thomas Anderson, operating as a hacker under the alias Neo, discovers the truth about the world he's living in, as he becomes aware of the existence of something known as the Matrix. After looking for a man named Morpheus, who can tell him more about the Matrix, he encounters another hacker named Trinity. After a failed attempt, which led to Agent Smith capturing and bugging him, Trinity takes Neo to Morpheus. Morpheus vaguely describes the Matrix as this all-encompassing prison, as the world that has been pulled over Neo's eyes, blinding him from the truth. He also admits that no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself, he states. So Neo gets offered a choice in the form of 2 pills, a blue one and a red one. If he chooses the blue pill, he remains in his everyday life and believes whatever he wants to believe. But if he chooses the red pill, he'll set foot in the real world and find out what the Matrix truly is. All I'm offering is the truth, says Morpheus. And so Neo takes the red pill and tumbles down the rabbit hole. The Matrix is considered a philosophical film that contains many existing philosophical and religious themes, like prophecy, love, truth, karma, the nature of reality, and living in a simulation. But there seems to be a particular close connection between the Matrix and Plato's allegory of the cave.
It's not a simulation. Not in the way that we're making these simulations. It's just we're creating more and more complex systems. Being systems created by a system that is less complex than us, but it's still grandiose. It's still the system prima, like it's the primal system, the universe, and it's just creating more and more complex things, and that's exactly what we do, and we're able to consciously know that, and that's the English language does not have words to describe how I feel when I say certain things sometimes.
In this allegory, presented in Plato's Republic, Socrates describes a group of people chained to a wall within a cave their whole lives. The only reality they know of is the mere shadows projected on the wall in front of them, and they believe these are real entities. Then one of the prisoners is freed. He leaves the cave and gets to experience the real world outside. But when he returns to the cave to enlighten the other prisoners with the truth, he faces resistance. This video analyzes the Matrix film through the lens of Plato's allegory of the cave, while exploring the following question: do we, as human beings, actually want the truth? Please note, this video contains spoilers that reveal the plot.
Who hasn't watched The Matrix at this point? If you haven't watched The Matrix, you're a bum. The philosophy of The Matrix, here we go.
Are chained so that they cannot move their legs and necks. They can only sit and watch the wall in front of them, but cannot look around, cannot see each other, nor the wall they're chained to. Behind the prisoners burns a fire. There are people in between the fire and the prisoners. These people hold sticks with several forms: birds, horses, dogs, which project onto the wall. So all they've ever seen are mere projections of objects that appear in the real world, a world that's alien to them. When one of the prisoners is freed and ascends from the cave into the real world, he experiences sunlight for the first time in his life. He is confused and needs time to adapt.
Bro, they should put the Deller audio over this. He steps out of the cave. My God! Like just fucking screaming.
As he has never seen the daylight before. But when his eyes have adjusted, he encounters all the forms he recognizes from his life in the cave. But they're different this time. Instead of mere silhouettes, he sees the actual entities, full of color and with profound detail. He then realizes what he thought was real was in fact an illusion. Similarly, Neo has been imprisoned without being able to see the prison. When he wakes up from the simulated reality, his naked body lies in a pod filled with liquid. He notices that his body is full of plugs and then sees millions of other pods with humans connected to what seems a giant machine. After a supervising drone notices that Neo has awakened, his body gets unplugged and discharged into a sewer. After Morpheus' ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, retrieves Neo, he needs some time to adjust to the real world, just like the escapee from Plato's cave. A fundamental difference in experience between Plato's character and Neo is the kind of reality they face. In Plato's allegory, the liberated man ascends from darkness into the light, from the lower level within the cave to a higher level outside. This ascension serves as a metaphor for gaining knowledge and becoming a philosopher, and thus obtaining a clear world vision. Plato's reality presents itself as generally more beautiful in comparison with the cave. Also, the freedom of movement in the outside world is a vast improvement. Overall, the real world.
It's funny that he can even run. It's funny that he can even walk. It's funny that he doesn't just crumble under his own 2 feet. Has he been? He has been standing. So maybe he'd have the strongest legs since he's never sat down before. But it's like running. That must be so like peculiar. That must be so new to you. I don't even think your ligaments is built for that at that point. Like your shit might just crumble. You take like one step too far, you're just gonna like not know what the fuck. Like your muscle memory ain't gonna be there. So you might just like fall over and be like and then just like fall the fuck over.
World seems way more pleasurable, and it would be pretty absurd to exchange it for a life in the cave. But the Matrix is different. Morpheus told Neo that if he chooses the red pill, he will show him how deep the rabbit hole goes, referring to the children's novel Alice in Wonderland. Tumbling down a rabbit hole resembles a descent rather than ascent into reality. This idea comes to fruition when Neo falls from a relatively pleasurable reality into a hellish wasteland devoid of sunlight run by machines. As opposed to Plato's reality, the reality in the Matrix isn't beautiful. It's terrible. Those plugged into the Matrix live in a vast, colorful, sunny world, although with a green haze, resembling the late 90s. They also have access to an endless variety of human pleasures. But in the real world, there's only one human city left, Zion, where people live under subhuman conditions, stuck in the outskirts, continually threatened of being obliterated by machines. So one could argue that, in the case of the Matrix, living imprisoned in the cave is more pleasurable than living freely in the outside world.
Yes. Yes. Of course. Because a lot of times, like, you gotta realize people aren't always gonna want to escape. People are gonna want to stay. People are gonna want to stay in their reality and their blue and take their blue pill. And it's like, who am I? Who are you? Who is anybody to really tell them to do whatever? Like, it's like that's the weird thing about it is nobody needs to do anything. Nobody has to do anything. People are very different. People are very complex, and people have different sort of drives and curiosities and thoughts about the world and about what's important to them. And people are different. People would definitely take the blue pill. People would say, you know what? I think that truth is ugly as fuck. I low-key just kind of rather be ignorant. I kind of just want to stay in my own little bubble and stay in my own little shell of a fake world. I mean, it's the only world I know. So can you really blame them? Could you blame them for not wanting to leave? It's the only world they know. I mean, fuck, they might have family there. People that they have built attachment to. It's like, that attachment is worth something, right? Like that love, they have things to take care of. They might have a wife, they might have a kid. Like, am I gonna get rid of that? Like, no. But it worked for Neo. He was able to take the red pill because he's somebody that does not have a lot of sort of tie-ins to the system. He doesn't have a lot of sort of, what do you call it? Like, what's the word for it? Like, responsibilities, I want to say, maybe, but also just like things that you're tied to. And it works for Neo because he's just a hacker. He's a single man hacker. He like lives alone. I mean, he's the right guy to go to for this. He really is. Not gonna ask a family man. He's too tied in. Not gonna ask the guy. You're gonna ask, of course, the computer hacker that's into like cool shit. You're not gonna ask the guy who loves the 9 to 5, who doesn't even know shit, who doesn't even really try to understand how the world works. He just tries to work it the best he can, try to make the best of it in this system. He doesn't really try to understand it. He doesn't try to become a hacker, to break the system, to break through. Right? He's just the 9 to 5 guy. He built a family. He went to college. Now he's in debt. He's paying for it. He bought a house. Whatever. It's like He's doing what is expected of him from society, which that itself is a machine. It's like this. You could only be Neo if you're somebody who is more of somebody that's not such a follower to this ideal of what somebody should be. I feel like I'm going way too far into that. Let me just shut the fuck up. Let me just shut up.
Shortly after his liberation, Neo initially refuses to accept the truth. No, I don't believe it. It's impossible, he says, after Morpheus showed him what the Matrix is. He showed a typical reaction of someone confronted with the harsh reality, as the architect of the Matrix states in the sequel.
Cognitive
Denial
dissonance
is the most predictable of all human responses.
Yes.
We can
Cognitive
see
dissonance.
when, for example, we discover that one of our parents isn't our biological parent, or the person we consider our greatest enemy turns out to be our parent. In such cases, the truth carries such a magnitude that accepting it shakes one's identity to its very foundations.
Cognitive
Such
dissonance.
a massive shift in perception generally terrifies people. Neo asks Morpheus, I can't go back.
In which I feel like I've had that when it comes to from me being a Christian who was brought up into a very religious family, and to go from that to then breaking free and being like, yo, I don't really believe in any of this. That's cognitive. I might have had some cognitive dissonance there, where it's like, dude, this thing that I'm kind of like learning about and that I'm curious, like I'm wondering about and being curious about. Is it bad to be curious? And it's like, but that never stopped me somehow, right? It never stopped me. I feel like a lot of times people don't want to. People who are very into their religion, they'll tell you not to question it ever. They're like, no, don't question it. No, don't question it. Just don't question it. Right? Stop questioning things. Just believe. That's it. And it's like, I'm glad that I did, because like, fuck. To be a part of that system, for some reason, being out, even though I'm not rich, even though I'm not living with a smile on my face 24/7, even though I'm not like feeling nothing but pleasure or whatever. I mean, I'm still living joyfully because of my knowledge and how I know how happiness works and what joy is and what gratitude is. I have those things, but it's not like I'm better than any of them. It's not like I'm better off than anybody in the system, but to understand more of the system feels great. It's just like, I wouldn't want to be that guy who's still religious. I wouldn't want to be that guy who doesn't question things, who doesn't question anything because he was told not to, because we come from a generation that tells you not to. The guy who doesn't take risks because the older generation, we come from a generation that didn't want to take risks because we tried and it failed. And, it's just like, they told us not to, so we don't take risks. We don't question anything. We just shut up and we do whatever the fuck people expect us to do. And it's like, how can you not? We have an ego, man. We ourselves. You know what that does to an ego, to be a part of such a system like that? And to be told so much bullshit. Fuck. Like, to be apart from that does give me a little bit of a feeling. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a feeling of freedom. I don't know if it's transcendence. I don't know what it is. But I do feel good. I do feel happy and glad that, like, I am who I am, even though, I mean, I'm not a rich man. I'm not, so many ideals I can think of. I'm not the best looking guy, not the fastest, not the strongest, not the most smartest, not anything, right? But it doesn't matter because I'm so glad to be me. Because it's just like, imagine if anything was different. Like, I'm just so glad that I'm me. That I think the way that I do, that I work the way that I do. And it's like, keep doing that, please. Because I don't know why. I just like it. I like to feel like I am unique and different. And that I'm sort of, that I would be like Neo. That I would take the red pill. And that I would choose to understand reality instead of just keeping a blind eye. For certain things, I think it's warranted that you should be able to, but minimal things. Most of the time, you should want the truth. Sometimes you should be willing to say, "I don't give a fuck if it's true or not. I believe it anyway." Some things you should be able to say, like that. But for something so fundamental, like religion or being in a simulation, and then somebody telling you, "Hey, this is our way out of the simulation. Come figure it out." Like, of course you should. I believe, in my opinion. This is my opinion, though. People see it way differently, and maybe they shouldn't. But for somebody like me, definitely should.
Can I?
Take the red pill.
To which Morpheus answers, but if you could you really want to? Flat out disregard of the truth is common. Many people prefer living in a safe bubble of lies to looking outside for the truth. Living in a cozy false reality can be pretty convenient and comfortable. You just have to remain ignorant of everything that could burst your bubble.
How can you be so ignorant, though?
Instead, you go along with the deceptive narrative of the herd, often amplified by mass media and entertainment. But we also see the opposite happening, like people opposing common knowledge, adopting a false truth, like the idea that Earth is flat. Such truth, by and large,
At the
can
flat
be
earthers.
easily fabricated. Merriam-Webster provides a definition of truth that goes as follows: a judgment, proposition, or idea that is true or accepted.
How can you have the word itself in the
Morpheus'
definition?
goal is to liberate the people from the Matrix, but he also realizes that as long as these people are part of the system, they're the enemy. First of all, because so-called agents protect the Matrix. These agents function a bit like a security program to keep Trojan horses and other malware out, and every human projection is potentially an agent. Second of all, most of them aren't ready to be unplugged. Similarly, when Plato's enlightened man tries to persuade the people
A lot of
in the
people are
cave
not ready to be
go
unplugged.
outside, he meets resistance and ridicule. Plato describes such endeavor as inserting vision into blind eyes. It's a waste of time trying to convince someone of the truth if they aren't receptive to it. Morpheus also states that many are so hopelessly dependent on the system that they'll fight to protect it. Similarly, Socrates asks if these people wouldn't kill the person offering them the truth about their existence. Nevertheless, Plato points to the philosopher's responsibility to act in the interest of the unenlightened ones, even if they're hostile, just as Neo, Morpheus, Trinity, and the other liberated humans do. In Plato's allegory, we see that liberation ultimately positively affects the man who is freed. Also, Neo eventually accepts the truth and embraces reality. But what if someone knows the truth, but hates it so much that he chooses a false reality? Here's where a character named Cipher comes in. Cipher admits he regrets taking the red pill, saying to Neo, almost assuming he feels the same, "I know what you're thinking, because right now I'm thinking the same thing. Actually, I've been thinking it ever since I got here. Why oh why didn't I take the blue pill?" End quote. But Neo's body language clearly shows that
A lot of
he's
people are
on
voting
the
for it.
same line as Cipher. Even though he's stranded in the same dark world, he seems rather happy with his liberation. Neo finds meaning in it and sort of takes on the role of Plato's enlightened man, as he takes responsibility to help the people still in
I
prison.
feel like I'm Neo a lot of the
He
time.
had always felt that something was off when he was still
But what does that mean in our world? To be enlightened, right? You become like Jesus. Remember, we learned about that. Alan Watts. You become like Jesus. You tell people, we are all the Son of God, right? I mean, you could argue Jesus was enlightened. And really what he was telling people is he was trying to enlighten them. Of course, I don't know that's how that went. I don't even have a lot of proof to pull that. I just have like that one quote from the Bible that says, "Ye are the Son of God." Meaning like all of us, we're all the Son of God. There is something in the Bible that says that. In case you didn't see that, go watch my religion video with Alan Watts on his take on religion. But you'd have to be like Jesus. You'd have to be the man who wants to liberate people from what they believe. But it's like, is there value in liberating people? Because I mean, Friedrich Nietzsche seems to think so. I mean, you know that guy, the bad boy philosophy. I mean, fuck. I mean, he believed that people were being so limited by the religion. I mean, you can't drink, you can't do all this. Which, like, I'm not even a drinker. I don't like to drink. I don't like to numb myself. I don't like to numb myself from life. I like to get drunk on life. I don't like to get drunk from it. So that I can avoid it and numb it out. Like, no, I want to experience this. I'm here for the experience. Whatever that means. But people should be allowed to do what they do. If you feel like it's just bullshit rules. I feel like a lot of them are those people in the cave. That's how, like I don't know if that's I don't know if that's inappropriate, but like that's how I sometimes perceive people who are super like seriously in love with their religion, that are seriously tied to their religion. Because I mean, like I said, that's the most fundamental thing ever. It's like And it's like if that is so fundamental to them, and there's not even a hint of truth to it, it's all just a made up concept made up by humans, and they believe it as if it's true, then technically they go on their entire lives believing in a lie, and they all become all of these people in the Matrix. They're all in the Matrix. And to break away from that, kind of like I did, would be to escape the Matrix, right? And there's also some other different ways where you can do that. It doesn't just have to be religion, but it can also be some fundamental things. Like think about I'm referring to Friedrich Nietzsche a lot here, like capitalism and what was the other one? Education, breaking free from the school system, right? People who always get A+, they're just really good. They're really good servants. They're really good listeners. They're really good at doing what they're being told to do. And in that way, they're kind of sheep, aren't they? I hate to say it. I know it sounds a little narcissistic. Of course, we'd say that. The people who don't do in school, we're kind of jealous of the people that do great. So we want to call them all these things. We want to say, ha ha, look at you, you fucking sheep. Like, why are you so doing so? No, you can choose to do good at school. I mean, that's going to get you your shit. Like, in the way the society works, like, in this system of society, you do all your shit that you need to do when you go to college and you do good. Like, you could get a really high paying job, like, in relative to everybody else. You could become a really good lawyer. You could become a doctor, right? It makes a good money. You could. I mean, you really could do that, and you could technically live comfortably. You honestly could. Especially I hope if it's your dream job, it's not just something that you're doing just because somebody else told you to. You could do that, and that's a lot of people. Some people actually do that, and it's just like, okay, well, should you break away from the system if that's you? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. But a lot of times you can break away from systems, whether that be religion, whether that be capitalism, and being like, dude, I want to break away from the system. I want to wake up to reality. Like, I don't think capitalism is the best thing. I don't really like this. I think that this is putting too much limits on people. I think that people are too obsessed with material things. I think people are just too much into this. They care too much about this. They don't see this reality. And also education. I think these people care too much about their good grades. People care too much about impressing their parents and impressing the people at college and just getting A+s all the time. And that's not me. I'm free from all of those. I'm somebody who's willing to question capitalism, question why people like all the materialistic thing and all the shit that comes along with capitalism. Blah, blah, blah. Not that I'm a communist. I'm not a communist. But like, I question any system. I question systems. That's what I do. I want to see the most ideal thing, which is the most ideal reality. How can we have the most ideal reality and not have a system that's just sort of enslaving people? Like, stop enslaving people. People should be free. Like, I'm seeing how, like, on top of the cave like allegory and metaphor that he's making here, I see how Friedrich Nietzsche also ties into this a lot, to the philosophy of the Matrix, which is people are radically free. And if you believe that, if you believe that people should be radically free, then you think in your head you must go through life believing with the notion that people should wake up, that they should know the truth, they should seek the truth. And if that's what's driving you, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily me, because I believe people should have the right to believe whatever they want to believe. I think so. But a part of me, maybe it's my shadow, a part of me wants to just tell them that just for some reason I just want them to wake up. I don't know why. It doesn't really affect me. Like nobody's really gonna force their religion on me, especially if you're not forcing your religion on me. Of course, why would I care? Right? Should I care? No, I shouldn't care. But it's like my shadow kind of just wants them to wake up for some odd reason. I just want them to wake up. I just want them to sort of see things the way that I see it. I don't know why. Because I believe that I know the truth and that these guys don't know the truth, and maybe they're being limited from knowing the truth. And I think that knowing the truth is the ultimate thing to do. I think that it's like the right thing to do, to know the truth. It's like the thing that I feel for some weird reason we should do, even though there's nothing we should do. We don't even need to keep living. We shouldn't even necessarily keep living or keep doing whatever we do. But I mean, of course, you can think of why we should. Obviously, I should do this because of this, because of this, because of this. But if you keep going up that line, that chain of reasons for why, right? If I just keep asking you why, you're probably gonna get to a certain point wherein you are not gonna be able to really back up your why. Because at some point, I'm gonna ask you, okay, well, why must you live? At some point along those questions along me asking why and you answering, we're gonna get to why must you even live? Why must you even be happy? Right? And it's like, are you even gonna be able to answer that? I don't know. And it's like, if you believe people are radically free, then you want them to know the truth. And I feel that that's a bit of me sometimes. Obviously my teacher, Mr. Jackson, he's told me, people. There's nothing wrong with being religious though. Like, there's nothing wrong with believing what you want to believe. Of course not. But like, it's understandable. You're brought up into it. How could I ask you to know any different? But I would want you. In an ideal world, I would want you to at least question it. I would want you to at least, have the transvaluation of values. You know, question what you believe. Question what you know. I don't know why. It just seems like that is the ultimate good. I don't know why. It just seems that way. It just seems like that is the thing to do. Why? I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it just seems right for people to know the truth. And it sucks that I can't explain why. Like, why must we know the truth? Why? Well, because then it's harder for you to be a slave to the system. I think that's the answer right there. It's harder for you to be a slave to a system when you know the truth. And it's like, nobody wants to be a slave. I think we can all agree, right? We don't want to be slaves. So that's why I guess the ultimate good would be to know the truth and to question systems, because I don't want you to be a slave to any system. Even if you're super comfortable in that system. It's a system in a bubble of lies. And it's just like, but do I have the right to challenge their belief, though? Do I have the right to tell them to not believe what they believe? I don't know. I probably not, but because like he said, not everybody's ready for that.
He felt that he didn't belong there. He wasn't happy. Through his liberation, he found what he was looking for, which probably compensates sufficiently for having to face the bleakness of reality, especially because people regard him as the one, which makes his existence even more meaningful. Cipher, on the other hand, doesn't enjoy reality in the slightest. He also shows little faith in Morpheus' prophecy of the One. Eventually, he plugs himself into the Matrix to attend a secret meeting with Agent Smith. Although his argument probably falls on deaf ears, he tells Smith, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss. End quote. Cipher is well aware that he cannot unsee what he has seen, which results from encountering truth. For him, being ignorant was great until Morpheus came along and threw a wet blanket on the party. When the veil of ignorance has been lifted, there's no going back. The truth lies naked in front of us. We cannot unsee that the person we thought was our father isn't our biological father. We cannot unsee the betrayal of a partner we previously believed to be a trustworthy person. A relationship between people changes when its fundamental story turns out to be a lie and reality is not as beautiful as it seems. The relationship was more enjoyable before the truth came out. Sure, it was based on an illusion, but in exchange for not knowing, we felt connection, love, intimacy, pleasure, and, ironically, trust. Truth.
Okay, I'm not gonna do that no more. I keep biting my nails off and I keep spitting them out because I don't eat my nails. But that ties into divinity, right? You do get divinity, and divinity is tied to happiness, right? People do become happier with divinity. Divinity does allow and make people. It allows people to be happy, right? You do feel a sense of divinity. I mean, happiness in divinity, like this, like sense that you belong to something greater than yourself. But I don't even think you need religion for that. Because, I mean, look at me. I'm not religious, and I feel like I am 100% a part of something bigger than myself. Like, I feel like this is the ultimate divinity. I feel way more divine than I ever did, even when I was at my strongest belief in Christianity. I mean, I believe, like, dude, like, seriously. I feel a real sense of divinity, and it's like, of course, that's... you could say ignorance is bliss. So, should I go and rain on their parade technically? But if I do rain, I'm going to offer you a good package as well, right? If I'm going to go there and hope that you seek the truth. I hope you know that the truth is not too grim. The truth isn't that grim, in my opinion. But I mean, that's just because I'm not, Schopenhauer or whatever, whoever the fuck I was. That's super pessimistic. But I don't think the reality is grim. I honestly don't think so. I mean, obviously, I might have bias there, my experiences, whatever. I don't think it's that grim. For a lot of people, it might be. For some people, it might be much more grim than mine, you know, take on reality. But like, at least if I'm gonna go tell you, okay, question your religion. If you choose not to be religious anymore, at least know this: I can show you another path to divinity. I can show you another way of feeling a sense of belonging to a system, to something that is bigger than yourself, because that is great, to feel a higher purpose. And that's the only thing that I can think of going away when you question your religion. Or,
Destroyed all that. Cipher realizes that he's fundamentally stuck in a reality he despises. So he asks Agent Smith to plug him back into the Matrix to make him someone rich and influential, like an actor, as he stated. But most importantly, he wants all of his memories of the real world wiped. In return, he gives him Morpheus. Cipher essentially made a hedonistic decision, exchanging reality and freedom for blissful ignorance. Interestingly enough, he reveals his idea of reality and freedom to Trinity, which makes his decisions reasonable in his eyes. During Cipher's attempt to deport Morpheus, Trinity reminds him that Morpheus set him free. But Cipher disagrees and says that all he does is follow orders of a man who lied to them. And if he has to choose between that and the Matrix, he chooses the Matrix. Trinity then argues that the Matrix isn't real. But again, Cipher disagrees, saying, I think that the Matrix can be more real than this world.
Depends on your definition of real. Fucking ads!
The people liberated from the Matrix have the technological ability to plug themselves into the system and be part of a simulated reality as their so-called residual self-image. They can upload programs directly into their minds that contain skills like martial arts and load various items into the Matrix, like guns. Lots of guns. So they were exposed to an illusion first. Now they have become illusionists themselves. When Neo goes back into the Matrix for the first time after his liberation and visits the city he lived in, he sees it in a different light. He realizes that none of his memories ever really happened. He recognizes places where he used to eat, work, live, but lucidly with the knowledge that they're just simulacra. The same must have happened to Plato's enlightened man, going back into the cave for the first time after his ascension, regarding the shadows on the wall. It probably leaves one disillusioned, perhaps disappointed with the lack of mystique these appearances once had. Finding out how a magic trick works makes it a lot less appealing. Truth,
that is true.
Therefore, often goes at the expense of enjoyment. An example of this is a legendary character in Western Christian culture called Santa Claus, which originates from the early Christian bishop Saint Nicholas. For most children, Santa Claus is a truly magical experience. The idea of an old bearded man traveling from the North Pole in a sleigh pulled by flying reindeer. According to the legend, Santa's elves make toys and other presents in a secret workshop, and Santa brings them to the children on Christmas Eve. With all the stories, songs, fairy tales, and films about Santa Claus, his annual appearance is almost a religious experience to the infant mind. But when children are around the age of 6, their parents begin to tell the truth about Santa Claus.
6?
Kids react emotionally and in disbelief. A once so much enjoyed
cognitive dissonance
and loses its magical appeal. Hence, it's not uncommon to experience nostalgia for the good old time when we.
But I mean, at 6, that's just 6 years that you've believed something. I mean, the longer you go, the more that cognitive dissonance is gonna hit you like a fucking. It's gonna hit you like a truck. It's gonna hit you. The longer you wait. 6 ain't that long. So I don't think they'll be too long. I mean, they might cry because they're kids. But it's like, that won't be too bummed out. That's just 6 years. I mean, 6 years of believing anything. If you believe something for 6 years, find out that it's untrue. Of course, it's gonna hurt. Of course, but it ain't the worst thing out there. I know people that have believed something for 80 years, like people who have been Christians for 80 years. It's like, how can you expect me to go? Like, at that point, I completely changed my stance on people knowing the truth, because I don't want them to be slaves to a system. They've practically been slaves to a system their whole entire life at that point, and they don't even have much life left to not be slaves. At this point, you might as well just keep believing what you might as well keep being a slave. You might as well keep. And I know it's like, it's the harsh reality of it, man. And that's why sometimes I'm glad to be me. Because, like I said, I don't have ideal, necessarily ideal conditions. I have them better than a lot of people. But it's like, I also have it worse than a lot of people. And it's like, okay, that's cool. Fine. I take it. I would take it, honestly. But that's why I show gratitude. But it's also like, oh my God, imagine if I got to 80 years old without questioning anything. Like, fuck. And I really believe, but like, and it's like, I'm fine. And I feel even better now that I questioned it and that I'm out of that. I don't know why. It's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's like, that'd be so weird if I just stuck on for 80 years believing that I was going to go to heaven and that this wasn't the place to live well because there was going to be a better place. And I'm just like, no, I'm not even going to try to really do anything here because I understand that this isn't where I'm going to live well. No, I'll live well somewhere else at a different time after I die. This isn't the place to live well. This is practically suffering. Like, no. What if this is heaven and we're making a mess out of it? Right? Sadhguru. He said that.
Of the truth, and when a surrogate truth was more appealing. Cipher experiences such nostalgia as well. However, interestingly enough, people can still find joy in what they know is fake. An example of this we see in The Matrix is the behavior of a character named the Oracle. The Oracle appears as an elderly woman, but is a program that initially served as one of the founding forces of the third current version of The Matrix. But when she finished her purpose, she went into exile and started supporting the resistance. Even though, as a computer program, she's very well aware of the world's illusory nature, she seems to enjoy it. She clearly shows delight in the smell of cookies, smokes cigarettes, loves candy, and the sunset. We see the same happening with the Merovingian, a character from the sequel, The Matrix Reloaded, who is passionate about the French language and loves beautiful women and serving them dessert with a happy ending. He also seems to enjoy the taste of olives, like a true Frenchman. Of course, as these characters are both software, these enjoyments could be part of their programming. Nevertheless, they show the human capacity to treat an illusion as if it's real. There's a philosophical term for this phenomenon, namely suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief is the intentional avoidance of skepticism, critical thinking, and logic when facing something unreal, like a work of fiction. For ages, suspension of disbelief is the intentional avoidance of skepticism, critical thinking, and logic when facing something unreal, like a work of fiction. For ages, humans have eagerly consumed illusions as entertainment, from cinemas and theater performances to the puppet shows of the past. Likewise, Plato's character can still choose to act as if the silhouettes in the cave are real entities, temporarily suspending his disbelief in exchange for enjoyment and having a good time with his old, unenlightened friends. When it comes to the Matrix,
it's hard to do
possibilities
that,
regarding the enjoyment of fakery are endless. Unlike the illusionists in Plato's cave, the Matrix produces an illusion that we can consider better than reality. We can see this with today's technology as well. How people can immerse themselves
yes,
in video
gaming,
games,
this is true.
almost like they're living a second life, an existence
This is true.
mostly more pleasant and rewarding. But the objects that appear on the screen aren't real, but mere projections. To enjoy them as if they were real, one needs to suspend that truth temporarily. Likewise, characters like Neo and Trinity could delight in the Matrix, perhaps by enjoying a romantic dinner and an evening walk along the river Seine.
But if that would be cool if you were like there and you understood that you were one of the only people in the world. That'd be cool. That'd create a cool dynamic if you could be like, if you were with your girl and you knew that your girl was into the same shit you're into, because y'all are fucking y'all are crazy as shit, and like y'all are like the only. That'd be sick. That sounds so sick, right? It's like you go back. That would make for like a sick, like cool little like spin-off of the Matrix. Like they go like Neo and Trinity, they go back in. I mean, I don't know if you could really make a movie out of it. You'd have to like the plot. I don't know the plot. You'd have to have a plot, but like just that idea is super romantic, isn't it? Like super attractive. Like imagine they go back into the Matrix after seeing reality, and they know that out of everybody there, they're practically one of the only people, easily 0.00001%, right? Like easily like the only two people that understand reality and that they know reality firsthand. And they realize that they're actually in a simulation, and they're willingly in the simulation, willingly on their own accord. They said, "Fuck it, we're gonna be in here, and we're gonna have a fun time in here." That's like they're in a video game, but they understand it in a video game, but they're literally in a video game, and they go around and imagine they go for a walk on the boardwalk, and they go talking about reality to each other, and they're just like they go talking about philosophical, fucking conversations, and I think this is just my idea. I feel like I find that attractive because I'm me. Like that'd be so sick if you could do that. If you could just be like going around talking about it, just hands in your pockets, just like, yeah, look at all this. Look at all this. Ain't this great? Isn't it crazy that none of this is real? Look at these, but like you'd probably lucky become a little bit of a dickhead at some point. You'd probably be like, look at these people. Like with your girl, you become like Bonnie and Clyde. Like you'd be like, look at these people, fucking normies, fucking slaves, sheep, stuck in a system. They don't even know the truth. But would you tell them the truth? I don't know. But you'd live to the end with your girl. I like that. You'd live to the end with your girl, knowing that only you two know the truth in the whole entire world. That you said you have that connection. You have this really special connection between you two, like this divine connection. Only you two know this thing. That's so sick. Imagine those conversations.
Seem to be able to temporarily accept and appreciate the lie when
fucking
it suits
ads.
them.
If you want to be on camera, you want to be behind the camera, you want to do radio, podcast, whatever it is, this.
Do we actually want the truth? That is the question,
Do we
isn't it?
actually want the truth? If asked, most people will probably answer yes to this question. But when exploring Plato's allegory and the Matrix, we discover that the human relationship with truth is not that simple. In some cases, we welcome the truth. In other cases, we hide from it, temporarily suspend it, reject it, and even wish to forget the truth if we had that option. One of the most striking examples is the character Cipher. Both Plato's work and the Matrix show people's disdain for a truth that threatens their reality. We tend to attach to the familiar, the comfortable, the meaningful, and are sometimes willing to defend it with our lives. When it comes to the latter, we just have to look at how people are ready to die for their religions and political ideologies. So
oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Nationalism? I mean, come on. But you know what is? What's more meaningful than knowing the truth, though? For what he said about sticking onto something because it's meaningful. What's more meaningful than knowing the truth? I mean, be real here.
again, do we want the truth? The answer seems to be, it depends. We tend to handle the facts selectively, as the truth appears in many different forms, with different magnitudes. Truth can uplift us. It can leave us indifferent, but can also make us depressed and miserable. For example, in Plato's allegory, learning the truth has virtually no downsides. The only downside is the hostility by those in the cave. But aside from that, it's pretty evident that Plato's truth leads to something better and would uplift almost anyone. But in the Matrix, the truth is less enjoyable. However, the effect that truth has on us doesn't necessarily depend on the truth itself. It also depends on the person receiving it. In the case of Neo and
Yeah,
Morpheus,
because look, if you're Plato, sick. I mean, you'd be even better off taking the red pill than Neo, right? Like you're the ultimate Neo. If you're just Neo, I mean, you still want to take the red pill, but it's just like you're not gonna be so happy about it, to be honest. I mean, he's fine, right? Like, he's fine. He's happy. He's cool on the truth, but he's not like Plato. Like Plato, absolutely. Oh, he preaches red pill. He preaches that junk. Neo, he'll take it. You know, he'll be content. He'll be happy. He'll be like, you know, at least I know the truth. I'm fine. Cool. I'm cool. You know, you have Cipher. Not built for it. Not at all. He's not built for it.
The state of the world provided them with meaning and legitimized the battle they were fighting as liberators of humanity, which is quite an incredible goal to have in life. On the other hand, Cipher pokes fun at that goal, which shows his cynicism and lack of meaning he found in his existence. People tend to adopt surrogate truths to cover up a painful reality. By contrast, others love painful realities, but these are often instrumental to their already dark worldview. People from both camps also tend to ignore facts that oppose how they want to see the world. In many, if not most cases, they share their worldviews with like-minded people.
Again, cognitive dissonance.
Sharing a certain truth, regardless of whether it's true, has benefits. Again, look at the religious groups, political movements, and even the Flat Earth Society. Being part of such groups can provide
Which started as a
with
joke.
purpose and social connections. In The Matrix, for example, we can see how the belief in one binds Morpheus and his people together. The downside is that adopting opposing views as a member, even if they are true, could lead to other members binds Morpheus and his people together. The downside is that adopting opposing views as a member, even if they were true, could lead to other members ostracizing you. And here's where the dark side of suspension of disbelief comes in. Some, if not many, are willing to turn a blind eye to the truth, not just for innocent enjoyment, but also out of convenience. For example, someone keeps...
Yes, this is Joe Rogan talks about this a lot. He understands, if you understand human nature, you understand the tribe mentality, wherein you're going to do a lot of things and you're going to conform to what everybody else believes, because if you don't, they're going to kick you the fuck out. You might get kicked the fuck out. You know, you just adopt whatever your political party, I'm using that as an example, your political party, right? That's a tribe. You adopt whatever they believe in, your religion, doesn't matter, political party, religion, whatever tribe you can think of, you adopt what they believe. Even if it goes against what you previously thought before you even entered in that junk. But it's like, you entered in this junk, cool, you one of us now, you're going to believe what we believe, you're going to do what we do. And, you know, most people are pretty center. It depends on their experiences, but most of them kind of end up being pretty center amongst like a wing that only goes two ways. Of course, they'd kind of be more like in the, like, by default, they'd kind of be around here, right? Like, not all the way over here, not all the way over here. Like, and then, you know, they adopt this tribe, they adopt all of their ideas of the tribe, and then they stick by them no matter what, and they'll double down if you hit them with an opposing view. Sometimes they'll double down. That's that ultimate cognitive dissonance right there. And it's like, yeah, he's talking about it right now.
Subscribing to a false belief against one's better judgment just to belong or out of fear of being ostracized.
Yes.
All in all, people seem pretty opportunistic when it comes to the truth. We want a truth, not necessarily the truth. We want a reality, not necessarily the reality. But the truth and the lie often have something in common. They both appear as stories. So could it be that we fundamentally don't want the truth, but a story to believe in, identify with, share with others, dwell on, and, perhaps most importantly, to provide us with a sense of meaning and belonging?
Yes, because I get that even from...
Thank you for watching.
Even from, you know, listening to Alan Watts' like speeches and understanding more about Buddhist philosophy and, you know, whether it be Stoic, Buddhist, you know, Eastern mysticism, whatever it is, whatever I don't believe in anything. I want to do what Sadhguru does, which is seek the truth. It's not about believing in anything. It's not about, but I mean, that it sounds pretty in concept, I know, but technically there is a sense of just faith in everything. There is. You're never going to escape it. because you can't know everything for certainty, with an absolute certainty, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I feel like there's certain things you're just never going to be able to know. But look at this. This is science. A lot of what Eastern motherfuckers thought, it's scientifically backed now. And they've been believing in that. Believing for 30, like for however many years, not 30, a long time. And like now that we're even able to study things and scientifically have a way of measuring what the truth is, we end up finding out that a lot of what they believed is true. And it's like, that's something, and it's like when you have that, you're like, okay, not only do I understand that this is a reality for me, I also have this feeling that this is the reality. I have a feeling that this is what it's about, that I believe the right thing, that I am not a slave to a lie. But a lot of it is just going to have to be a leap of faith. I mean, I don't know if there's ever going to be the reality. Is like just seeking out scientifically provable things the reality? I mean, maybe by our definitions, maybe. And even if you do that, you still believe what I believe. Because, I mean, a lot of what I believe is pretty scientifically heavy. It's like, of course, I'll take Alan Watts' shit into it. But, like, I understand that whatever Alan Watts is telling me, science wouldn't tell you otherwise. He's just, of course, putting a little pretty bow on it. He's putting a little pink bow on it to make it look pretty. But, like, he's not going to tell you anything different. I mean, science isn't going to tell you different. I mean, look at law of thermodynamics. Matter can't be created nor destroyed. We are the universe. If any of our matter cease to exist, I mean, that's how important and fundamental we are. He's not wrong. If any of our matter ceased to exist, the universe wouldn't be whole. If you watching this didn't exist, the universe wouldn't be whole without you. The universe wouldn't be the universe anymore. We'd have to completely change the name. We'd have to call it something else. It wouldn't be it anymore. It wouldn't be the whole thing anymore. It wouldn't be whole. It wouldn't be complete. It'd be missing a very fundamental piece. And it can't do that. By law. By law, you are important and you matter. You matter. And with that, I'm going to end it. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that, man. All I'm offering is the truth, the philosophy of the Matrix. Let me know what you guys want me to react to next, and I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Yes, sir.